Welcome or welcome back to Pewdiepie. I'm Zui and I hope you enjoyed today's video. But before we get right into it, I'm obligated to remind you to click either the like or dislike button, commenting something down below, and of course sharing the video so more people can see and enjoy it. This is very important as it helps with the YouTube algorithm. I want you to know that your help is greatly appreciated. If you have any suggestions or ideas for a story, my Discord link is in my link tree that is down in the description, as well as my Patreon and Ko-fi for any donations you may want to send my way. Every cent counts. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed today's video. The giant laughed as he held you like a toy, your face a mixed grimace of fear and anger. He had been a pro hero for a while now. With a quirk like yours, it was only natural. It was called Type Null. It allowed you to gain abilities from animals by simply injecting their blood into your body. It was gross, yes, and while normally this sounded very unhygienic, with your body's makeup it was entirely safe, especially if you used animal blood from lab-grown creatures. Of course, due to animal testing laws, you were limited. But you had found your niche. You had discovered that insect abilities put on the scale of a fully grown human were quite devastating. To this day you remembered when you first discovered the abilities a regular ground spider gave you. It allowed you to shoot web balls out of your hands that simply slowed down most villains almost immediately. However, the irony on this wasn't lost on you when you engaged in battle with this gigantification quirk user who had attempted to rob a 7-Eleven of all things. Why would a man with a quirk like this rob a goddamn gas station? The giant squeezed you tightly, making you cough out green blood. For now your insect abilities were still functional. Expecting a regular close-up quarters battle, you had decided to take the blood of a suitable insect, the fire ant. Over 100 poor ants had to die to make enough for your quirk. And you were saddened that now it felt like their sacrifice was wasted. With the way the giant was holding you, you couldn't deliver the poison to at least slow him down. Using fire ants as your quirk enhancer gave you 2 mandible claws on the back of your hands. It also covered your body in beautiful red chitin armor. 2 antennas that twitched at the slightest sensation, a sort of 6th sense for danger was quite handy actually, and of course enhanced strength. But not even that could stop the giant. The giant laughed before slamming you into the ground. The asphalt cracked open under you from the force, and you coughed loudly. The pain and shock was so severe you were paralyzed from it. The villain got down on one knee, relishing in what he perceived as your defeat. His giant hand hovered over you threateningly. He was going to squish you into paste. Using all your determination, you raised your right arm as he lowered his hand slowly. The big idiot practically impaled his hand on your venomous mandible. The moment the poison entered his bloodstream, he quickly pulled back, screaming in pain like a baby that dropped its candy. Clinging onto your consciousness, you raised your head. The giant was holding his wrist as the hand began to swell and practically glow red. It looked nasty, revolting, painful, and you sighed happily as you flipped him the middle finger. Bad move though, as he then looked over at you. Enraged, he slammed both hands on the ground and jumped on top of you. His giant hands were pressing into the ground next to your shoulders. For only a second, as he let his instincts decide on what to do to you. And then 3 weeks. You were in the hospital for only 3 weeks. Your body was practically shattered. At least that's how you felt. Surprisingly, your fire ant armor protected you, kept you alive. You'd thank the little ants every night you lied awake in pain. However, despite everything, your legs were in a horrendous state. So shattered and broken, to fix it, they required multiple healing quirk users. And despite that, your legs were still too brittle and broken to walk. For the next 8 months, you'd be forced into a wheelchair. And after those, you'd need to go to physical therapy to learn how to walk again. You had been heavily sedated most of the time. You didn't quite feel the impact of this. Not even the day your boyfriend of over 5 years came to your room. You weren't catatonic, just in a deep state of depression. "You're doing great," said your boyfriend as he pushed you out of the hospital. As he gently sat you down in his car, he shoved the wheelchair into the back. You couldn't even look at him. You wished you could. You really did, but you felt so embarrassed and vulnerable. "Doc said no pressure on those legs of yours." You didn't respond. "Wheelchairs are fine. I was in one of them myself for long periods of time." The two of you stopped at a red light and he looked at you. Are you still docked out by your beds?" You were looking outside the passenger window, your hands folded neatly in your lap. You had started dating Bakugou back in high school. He was your first boyfriend. And your first time. Practically anything around love, he had the pleasure of being your first. You felt bound to him because of that. Sure, people behind your back were judging you for missing out on all the fun. But to you, there was no better feeling than familiarity. It made you feel safe. And hearing him trying to comfort you, it was nice. It certainly didn't reach deaf ears, even though it seemed like it. You were just too broken to reply. You were right now wearing a thin white summer dress, mostly due to the fact pants didn't fit with the braces around your legs. They were some expensive high-tech stuff sponsored by the global defense effort for human health. There was some expensive high-tech stuff sponsored by the Global Defense Effort's Hero Healthcare Department. Your eyes wandered over to the setting sun. It was quite late, as day was slowly turning to night. "Hey, babe. Babe. I was wondering, you know, we have like a couple dozen firework festivals in Japan for some reason. I was wondering if you'd like to go one, like, right now." You blinked. "Right now? You just got out of the goddamn hospital." "Just, thinking maybe some, cool autumn breeze and fireworks would cheer you up." Bakugou never attended one of these festivals. He was a very uncultured swine. In fact, he didn't even understand, or more wanted to know, why these festivals were held to begin with. He just wanted to cheer you up. Get you to think of other things. You closed your eyes, and he noticed. "Fine," you said weakly, your voice hoarse from not using it for a long time. Bakugou smiled, and instead of turning right at the next crossroad to drive home to your shared luxury apartment, he He went forward. The festival grounds, it was a few ways away, in the city's outskirts. As you watched skyscrapers become smaller and smaller buildings, finally becoming regular suburban one-family homes, a strange feeling of excitement made itself known by you. What made it strange was the seething pain in your legs, only held back by the drugs given to you. You really weren't in the mood to feel anything, really. Bakugou stopped at a pretty field parking area just as the moon rose over the horizon. He set up the wheelchair and then gently placed you in it, before pushing you onto the fair grounds. The stench of freshly cooked food was in the air. Sounds of laughing and talking as you approached the various stands selling fast food, advertising merchandise, or just simple carnival games. Bakugou looked left to right. This felt very reminiscent of UA's summer festivals. However, your eyes kept fixated on the ground. Your face flushed from embarrassment. You felt so useless. You weren't even wearing a kimono. That was the most fun part about this. "Oh, yakisoba," said Bakugou encouragingly. "You want some?" When you didn't respond, he just approached the stand without you. Bakugou proved impeccable patience with you, but when it came to food, it seemed like that's where he drew the line. He was obviously pissed, but tried to hide it. For you. Still, he just parked you right next to a tree. At least he was nice enough to place you in a way you weren't bothering anyone. You watched as he slowly got to the stand, observed how the jolly man behind the cart skillfully prepared the yakisoba noodles, and even cut tiny squid sausages. He put the stuff into a styrofoam box and offered it to your boyfriend, who then paid for it. Overall, it must have taken less than 10 minutes, but it felt like an hour. But it smelled admittedly delicious. He put the box into a plastic bag and hung it from one of the wheelchair handles. "I know you're a little on edge, so let's just go straight to the picnic area." Without another comment, he pushed you past the food carts and onto a field where already a few people had spread out their picnic blankets. The two of you went over a gravel path to the very top of an observation hill. There he spread out a large blanket before carefully picking you up and setting you down. From here you could see the lights of the city proper. It was calming. So calming. You lied down and stared at the starry sky, while Bakugou was happily chomping on his food. "I'll leave the rest for you." Your head turned and you looked at his silhouette. "It's half." He nudged the box against your shoulder. After some more nudging, he got louder. "It's half." After another minute, he got up on his feet and sat down right next to you, just throwing the box on your lap while spilling it. "Eat, goddammit!" he ordered. He had only eaten when ordered the past few weeks. Simply no appetite. Not like you could feel hunger anyways. Sheepishly and with a heavy blush, he began to eat the yakisoba. "It's delicious, perfectly spicy, but not hot," he said, with a slight hint of jealousy. Meanwhile, you tasted nothing, but I just accepted his description. After you were done eating and he had thrown away the box, he cuddled up to you carefully not to touch your legs. You lied comfortably on top of his shoulder. "I was really worried about you," he whispered. "I told myself I wouldn't, but I did. Spent my entire life only caring about myself, and then I met the perfect woman, you. And it's like my world has changed." it suddenly got dead quiet. Oh, I think they're about to shoot their shot. Well, I have one question. You always liked the festivals, right? Is this doing anything? Making you feel better? I'm really trying here, alright? Silence. None of you said anything. Not until the first fireworks shot into the sky. Drowning the night in beautiful explosions of color. I love you, you said loud enough for him to hear. His lips quivered. Finally, he allowed himself to cry in happiness over your survival and the fact that you weren't taken away from him. He just loved you so much.